You know, the most important relationship is in life is that with God. This is a message about the second of the Ten Commandments, and I call it not a suggestion number 2. Now remember that keeping the law in the Ten Commandments does not save you. Faith in Christ saves you based on what Jesus paid at the cross. But the Ten Commandments get life straightened out by getting relationships to work right and getting life straightened out by relationships. Life is really all about relationships. The first relationship that needs to work is that with God. It's probably the one most neglected by people. And the first command was in an earlier message. It says, you shall have no other gods before me. The second command protects and reinforces the first. It's in Exodus chapter 20, verse 4. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. It calls out exclusive worship of God as God. And anything in creation cannot be a substitute for God. The image of anything in creation cannot be a substitute for God. You shall not worship idols. Now remember that Moses came down from the mountain with the Ten Commandments the first time he got them, and the Israelites were worshiping the golden calf. The golden calf was an idol of Egyptian worship, okay? The idol, and they had just come from Egypt. They were familiar with that. An idol is an image that can be carved or it can be in picture form. It's an image of something created that substitutes for the creator. That's not okay. Can't substitute any created thing for the creator. Today, in other parts of the world, people, and sometimes in this country, people still bow down to statues and images. In the U.S., I think most of our idols are possessions, to be honest with you. Back in the mid-'60s, when I was a teenager, 1965, I was 16. And so when I was a teenager in the mid-'60s, I knew a guy in my hometown who had, listen to this, if you know anything about cars out of the 60s and pop music out of the 60s, he had a 1961 Chevy with a 409, 3 deuces, and a 4-speed. They sang songs about that car, you know what I mean? It was a cool car. Now, I can't prove that it was an idol, but he devoted himself to that car above anything else. I mean, his life revolved around that car. If he was going to cruise in it in the evening, he put a rear end for cruising in that night. Took the old rear end out, put that one back in. If he was going to drag race, which he did a lot, he'd put the drag racing rear end in. And I knew this guy. I knew he did all this stuff. I noticed that one week it went from a red car to a yellow car. Repainted it. I mean, he was all about that car. His life revolved around his car. It was the focus of his life. When your life revolves around something other than God, you might need to prayerfully take a look at who God is to you, because you can only have God as God. All other stuff is a false God and could be an idol. So take a look at that, pray about it if you need to, and make sure that God is your God. You'll be blessed. It'll get life all straightened around, get the relationships fixed. Starts with God. Hope you'll subscribe, make comments, and help me get this message out.